I'm going on a trip and I'm so excited because of where I'm going. So I have not been back to this place in over 5.5 years from when I left very unexpectedly. Where am I going? I'm going back to Austria. And I'm so excited. I first went to Austria when I was studying abroad in college. I went to Franciscan University and they have a study abroad program in Gaming, which is in like the foothills of the Alps. It is absolutely stunning. And we got to frolic around for 4 months learning. All of our regular classes were there. And then we got to travel on the weekends, literally anywhere we wanted to. And that was such an incredible opportunity as a young person. And I actually ended up going over there for 2 semesters. So I spent about a year-ish, an academic year, in Gaming in college, which was like so fun. And then I decided after college was over to attend grad school. And there were two grad schools that I was looking at the time because they had, like, I wanted to study something very specific, marriage and family theology, and there aren't a ton of programs out there for this specific field of study. And so I was going between one that is in DC and one that is in Austria, a little bit further, not in Gaming, close to Vienna, just outside. And so I ended up packing up all my bags and moving halfway across the world for grad school. And it was such an amazing decision. I absolutely loved my time there. It was such a peaceful place. I got to study the things that I loved and that were changing my life and that changed the course of my life. But at the same time, I got to just have this wonder about the world. Got to travel. I got to be exposed to beauty and culture in a way that was just very deep and rich. And it was just such a wonderful experience. Well, while I was there, I ended up getting sick with Lyme disease and I couldn't get the treatment that I needed while I was there. So I ended up having to move home. And it was such an interesting thing because I left with a carry-on. And I thought I was going to come back in 2 weeks. And so, not having been there for 5.5 years, this is kind of crazy. And it's all the Lord's timing for sure, because they're having a conference on John Paul II's theology of the body and gender ideology. And I am so excited to go back, not only to learn through this conference, like get to experience this conference, but to go back in general and to kind of, I don't know, close the chapter of my life that was a part of. Still processing through a lot of that. But what's really cool about that school was that John Paul II, when he was alive, really wanted a school that promoted the understanding and the research of marriage and the family, specifically in the realm of theology. And so he called up his buddy Cardinal Schönborn, who is the cardinal in Austria, and he called him up and said, hey, I need you to start a school for me, and I think Austria is the perfect place for it. And so he then called up Michael Wallstein, Dr. Wallstein, who coincidentally is the one who ended up translating the theology of the body from John Paul II into English, and that is the translation that we all use nowadays. He's the one who translated that. So Cardinal Schönborn called him up and said, hey, will you help me start this school? And so it's such a unique place because much like John Paul II had such a hand in handing on this beautiful tradition that we have in the faith surrounding marriage and the family, and handing on the truths of that so that we can really lean into them and flourish. He also set up this school to do that in his stead, alongside of him, and then to precede him after he was no longer here with us. And so what a cool kind of history that school has. And I, like, learning all of this, I was just like, I couldn't not go. Like, this is so cool. This is the field of study that I've decided to dedicate my life to. And why would I not go to the place that's all so connected and so kind of the first of its kind in what it's studying and how it's doing it. And my time there was so blessed. It was, like I said, just filled with peace. I knew I had to be there. I mean, it was also really hard. There's a lot when you are learning these things and changing your life. There's a lot of mental things that go on, but the Lord was so present on that campus. We had chapels throughout. The school is in an actual castle, by the way, which was so fun. So anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, but they are having a conference on John Paul II's theology of the body and gender ideology. And I am so excited to go and learn from my professors who are still there and people coming in and out for this specific conference. And I'm so excited to take you guys along because I will get to show you some of these places that really formed who I am. A lot of my formative years as a young adult in college and then post-college were spent in this country, this beautiful country that I feel like is so much a home to me. And so I'm going to be traveling back there, and I can't wait to take you guys along for the journey, show you the places that just shaped me truly, and to see what else I can learn while I'm there. And so I'm getting ready for this trip. And like I said, I haven't been there in 5.5 years, which is crazy. And I left with just a carry-on. And it's kind of funny because we're just going with carry-ons for this trip because it's not super long. And I don't want to run the risk of losing anything. And so today I'm doing a little bit of packing, and because I've traveled so much, I used to live abroad, I love to travel. It's kind of like one of those nerdy things that I'm like super into, is like traveling, and then also how to be super efficient with it and like make the most of the whole trip. And a lot of that comes down to the intentionality that you have while you're packing your stuff for your whole trip. And it's so funny because this intentionality is such a theme I've realized in my life, that I love being intentional in this way because I can see how it helps me while I'm on the trip, how my intentionality with what I packed for what day or what I packed just in case, the little things that I kept in there to make my life a little bit easier, right? Maybe it's a little bit more work on the front end, but the result in the actual time that I'm spending there, it's going to make it a lot easier. And that's how I see being intentional in our lives in general, right? Being intentional with how we are when we are single, being intentional with how we are while we are dating, so that the relationship is really set up to flourish and to have these fruits in the relationship to come much faster. And you can really glean these results and see the abundant harvest that comes from spending a little bit more on the front end of time in intentional preparation. And it's just so funny how the Lord uses like all of your life circumstances to write your life story, because a lot of my life story comes back down to this intentionality piece, and how this intentionality, I see it as this path to this flourishing that the Lord has for us. I want to take you a little bit along on the packing journey that I tend to do to make my trip just that much easier and smoother while I'm there. For this particular trip, what I did was I wrote out all the days that I was going to be gone, where I was going to be, what events were happening those days, and then I tried to plan my outfits for those days. I like to stay within a color family, a color scheme, so that everything can go with one another. And for this particular trip, we're going navy, white, and black. Truly a winning combination, in my opinion. You can't really go wrong with those colors. And so I made my bases those colors, and then everything will be able to mix and match while I'm gone to make getting dressed a breeze. I'm also packing my toiletries super intentionally this time. I got these little tiny containers to put my full-size stuff in so that I can just take what I use normally to travel with me in these tiny little containers instead of taking the big bottles. And one of the countries that I am going to is really strict on just how many liquids you can take. And so I got this little TSA approved bag that will help me keep everything organized. I'm also taking all of my favorite pieces of makeup and make sure that I feel comfortable in my skin while I'm there, because there's nothing worse than getting to a new place, already being a little bit self-conscious of being there, and then not having your go-tos. If you want more packing tips or my process to be broken down a little bit more, I am more than happy to do that. I am such a nerd about these things. So let me know in the comments if that is something that you're interested in. And I might be showing some of that a little bit more over on Instagram. So don't forget to go over there and give me a follow. And I am so excited to take you along. I'm going to be vlogging while I'm on the trip, and I'll put together the video at the end, and I'll be able to show you all of these places and tell you stories in the particular areas of these places that shaped who I am today in a large part. And so I cannot wait. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel so that you'll get notified when that video goes live. And I'm so excited to take you along on this journey so that you can have a piece of this transformation that occurred in my life. I'm cheering for you.